He thought the papers would end everything. But when she walked into the courtroom holding a newborn baby, his past stood up and refused to stay silent. The courtroom was colder than Elena remembered, not because of the marble floors or the high ceilings, but because of the silence. That sharp, heavy silence that settles when something irreversible is about to happen. Elena stepped inside slowly, every footstep echoing. In her arms, a newborn slept peacefully, unaware that this room held the final chapter of a love story that once felt unbreakable. She adjusted the soft white blanket around the baby and lifted her eyes. And that's when she saw him. Daniel, sitting confidently at the opposite table, his posture relaxed, his expression calm, and beside him, another woman, beautiful, polished, certain. Elena's heart didn't shatter, it didn't scream, it didn't even ache the way she thought it would. Instead, it went quiet. Daniel noticed her then, his gaze traveled from her face to her arms and stopped. His breath caught. What is that? His mind asked before his lips could form the question. The baby stirred slightly, pressing its tiny face into Elena's chest. Daniel's world tilted, a love that faded quietly. Once, Daniel used to reach for Elena's hand in public. Once, he used to kiss her forehead before she fell asleep. Once, he said her name like it meant home. But love doesn't always end with shouting. Sometimes, it ends with absence. Late nights turned into empty promises. Text messages replaced conversations. Silence replaced care. When Elena told Daniel she was expecting, his reaction wasn't joy. It was distance. I'm not ready, he said. I need space, he added. And then one day, he stopped coming home. By the time the baby was born, Daniel had already chosen a different life. Elena never begged, never chased, never explained herself to people who didn't ask. She focused on survival, on love that didn't walk away. The moment of truth, the judge entered, and everyone rose. Daniel barely noticed, his eyes stayed locked on the baby. As that, he finally whispered, voice unsteady. Elena met his gaze for the first time. Yes, she said softly. She's mine. The pause that followed was unbearable. Daniel swallowed. How old? 6 weeks. His mind raced backward, counting, remembering, regretting. The woman beside him shifted uncomfortably. She hadn't known. Some truths don't stay hidden forever. Words that came too late. The judge asked if there was anything either party wanted to say. Daniel stood. I didn't know, he said quickly. If I had known. Elena shook her head gently. You knew enough, she replied. You knew I was alone. Her voice never rose. That hurt more than anger ever could. She continued, I didn't come here to ask for anything. I came to close a door. Daniel's hands trembled. He looked at the baby again. At the tiny fingers, at the quiet miracle he almost missed. I made a mistake, he whispered. Elena smiled, not with joy, but with peace. Yes, she said, and I survived it, a different kind of strength. The papers were signed, the judge nodded. It's finalized. That word echoed louder than any scream. Elena stood first. She adjusted the baby's blanket, pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, and turned toward the exit. Daniel watched her walk away. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in quiet dignity. For the first time, he understood. Some losses don't shout, they walk away silently, and never come back. Part 2. The silence after the courtroom. The courtroom doors closed behind Elena with a sound that felt final. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. She stood in the hallway for a moment, holding the baby closer, letting the silence settle into her bones. Her hands were steady now, stronger than she ever thought they could be. Outside, the sky was gray. It matched the season of her life she was leaving behind. Behind those doors, Daniel remained seated. He didn't move. The woman beside him spoke softly, asking if he was okay, but her voice felt distant, like noise underwater. His eyes stayed fixed on the door Elena had just walked through. For the first time, the room felt empty. Memories that arrived too late. Daniel remembered the night Elena told him she was expecting. She hadn't cried, she hadn't demanded anything, she had just looked at him and said, I wanted you to know. At the time, he called it pressure, responsibility, bad timing. Now, standing alone with those memories, he realized, she was giving him a chance he quietly refused. He stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. The judge had already left. The papers were done, the ending was written, but something inside him had just begun breaking. A father without a place. That night, Daniel sat in his car long after the engine stopped. He pictured the baby's tiny face, the way she slept so peacefully in Elena's arms. His child, a life that existed without him. He tried to imagine himself holding her, but the image felt unfamiliar, like imagining a home he never built. Regret doesn't shout, it whispers, and that whisper followed him home. Alina's new beginning. Alina's apartment was small, but it was warm. She laid the baby gently into her crib, watching her chest rise and fall. In that quiet moment, Elena finally allowed herself to breathe. She hadn't won. She hadn't taken anything away from Daniel. She had simply chosen peace. She whispered softly, "It's just us now." And for the first time in months, she didn't feel afraid. Love that stays. Days passed. Daniel sent messages he never sent before. "Can we talk? I keep thinking about her. I wish I had done better." Elena read them without anger, without hope. Some apologies arrive after the door has closed. And she knew, her heart had already moved forward, not away from love, but toward a different kind. The kind that doesn't leave, the things that never return. Time has a gentle way of revealing the truth. Weeks turned into months. The baby grew stronger, Elena grew calmer, and Daniel learned what silence really sounds like. A life moving forward. Every morning, Elena sat by the window with her daughter resting against her shoulder. The city woke up slowly below them, and for the first time in a long while, Elena felt present. No fear of being left. No waiting for messages. No hoping someone would choose her. She already had everything she needed. Motherhood didn't erase her pain, but it reshaped it. It gave it purpose. Sometimes, late at night, she remembered Daniel. Not with longing, but with gratitude for the lesson. Some people come into your life to stay. Others come to show you your strength. The man WHO learned too late. Daniel tried to fill the emptiness with distractions. Work, travel, noise. But nothing quieted his thoughts. Every time he saw a child laugh, his chest tightened. Every time he passed a park, he slowed down. He wasn't punished. He was simply left behind by a future that kept moving. One evening, he stood outside Elena's building. He never went in. Some doors are not meant to be knocked on twice. The final message. Elena received one last message. Not an apology, not a request, just truth. "I see now what I didn't protect. I hope you're happy." She read it once, then placed her phone face down, and smiled, because happiness was no longer something she waited for. It was something she lived. A promise kept. As Elena rocked her daughter to sleep, she whispered words meant to last a lifetime. "You will never have to beg to be loved. You will never be an option. You will always be chosen." And in that moment, Elena knew. She didn't lose a marriage. She found herself. Some love stories don't end with reunion. They end with growth. She walked away carrying truth. He stayed behind holding regret. And the child between them became a reminder. That love ignored doesn't disappear. It transforms. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Black Inside USA for more emotional stories about love, strength, and quiet resilience. Every story has a lesson, and every listener matters.